In recent stellar cycles, the examination of terrestrial endeavors has become a scientific fascination. Countless publications have emerged in a brief period describing the extraordinary adaptations terrestrials have developed to dominate as apex predators on an extremely hazardous world. While numerous species across the galaxy possess comparable intelligence, terrestrials boast additional physiological resilience, often absent in their sentient counterparts from other planets. Researchers continuously uncover terrestrial physiological advantages unique to their species. Consider their hand, wrist, elbow, and shoulder configuration, which together enable the remarkable ability to project objects with precision. Certainly, various species can propel items from one location to another, yet none match the velocity or accuracy of terrestrials. Both males and females demonstrate exceptional precision and speed, generating force potentially lethal to other terrestrials when objects are hurled with sufficient power. In terrestrial competitions, a projectile specialist can launch a sphere at tremendous speeds into a small designated area. Terrestrial theorists propose this skill assisted them in capturing prey that was faster and more agile. Others suggest connections to communication development. Throughout their history, terrestrials have enhanced this capability with devices like the sling. Yet even without these innovations, their throwing ability remains evolutionarily astounding. Narcs detested conflict, particularly being involved directly, crouching in excavations, advancing cautiously on his 8 appendages, and especially enduring the agonized sounds of those wounded around him. He longed to return to the vessel and depart. Commander Jace Holm had emphasized the significance of assisting others, which Narcs understood conceptually, but this hardly matched his interpretation of helpful service. The Stellar Council disagreed emphatically, utilizing their substantial authority to requisition every terrestrial crew within considerable distance for the mission. The independent vessel Piercer with its freelance team followed financial incentives, unfortunately for Narcs, leading them to the planet Vorex to confront the Zith warlords and liberate the oppressed Tani. Matters worsened because the Stellar Council, since the Dora conflict that nearly ended disastrously without terrestrial intervention, had heavily employed a dispatch terrestrials until resolution approach whenever military problems arose. Narcs wondered why terrestrials excelled so thoroughly at warfare. This thought crystallized as Commander Holm positioned himself beside Narcs in the improvised shelter, energy weapon resting against one arm. His trousers were torn along one side, revealing metallic components of his artificial limb. The metal was damaged from extended combat, yet he seemed unconcerned. Narcs understood Commander Holm sustained that injury during a similar conflict, supporting the Stellar Council against different adversaries. Despite his missing limb, the commander never mentioned problems related to the traumatic injury. Truthfully, Narcs perceived no difference between the man and his intact colleagues, except his enhanced ability to conceal refreshments in restricted zones, a significantly improved talent. "Sir," the man rested against the barrier near him and inhaled deeply. "We face critical circumstances. Our munitions are depleting, and they've destroyed the crossing. The ravine walls present impossible climbing challenges without assistance from reinforcements, who appear occupied elsewhere. We shouldn't anticipate help anytime soon." "What now? Who's immobilized?" Narcs inquired. "Apologies, that's figurative language. We cannot escape, and nobody can assist us." Narcs vocalized dismay as the commander continued. "Wait, there is positive news." Narcs glanced up, hope flickering through his thoughts. "Their crossing has been destroyed as well, so reinforcements aren't likely arriving for them either." Narcs deflated. Terrestrials possessed peculiar optimism that complicated understanding truly dire situations. Perhaps they genuinely misinterpreted positive news. Immediate rescue constituted positive news. Enemy surrender represented positive news. Not this. These circumstances had stranded them on a platform within a deep pit. A massive fracture had split the canyon floor, creating a wide gap descending into darkness, filled with low-hanging mist obscuring its bottom. One canyon, two sides, two armies. both stranded and now completely without ammunition. An unusual spectacle unfolded. Terrestrials forming an extended line on one side, Sith soldiers arranged similarly opposite, angrily glaring, gesturing, and jeering at each other. Despite hours passing, the exchange remained loud, prolonged, and remarkably inventive. Bloated discharge slugs, wriggling waste worms, slimy, mangy, deformed flesh toads. Having exhausted standard galactic insults, the enemy began using expressions from their native language. When those were depleted, they simply combined words to create novel insults. Astonishingly, the terrestrials maintained a seemingly inexhaustible supply of original terrestrial insults, though Narks noticed increasing complexity. When the Creator bestowed beauty upon all living beings, you must have been holding a barrier over your head. Your appearance causes vegetation to weep. You embody the alien equivalent of reproductive discomfort. Your maternal figure was a rodent, and your paternal figure emanated elderberry fragrance. I shall forcefully impact your posterior region with such intensity that your skeletal components will emerge from your oral cavity individually like a confectionery dispenser. Narks couldn't comprehend most meanings, likely lost in translation, but certainly wished to avoid discovering where the commander planned to place his artificial limb. The situation must have frustrated both sides, so near yet unable to engage. Terrestrials were action-oriented beings, and once agitated, calming proved challenging. Periodically, one terrestrial would emit their characteristic battle cry, others joining the chorus to enhance the taunting. The Sith responded equally, clicking in their distinctive language and striking their armored surfaces together for acoustic effect. The cacophony became overwhelming. This continued until one particularly egregious insult dominated the exchange. Suddenly, eerie silence descended across the terrestrial position. Narks struggled with translation, but it targeted Commander Holmes specifically as their evident leader, referencing something concerning juvenile members of his species and particularly insulting his maternal figure. Whatever the translation, the commander became silent as their entire side went instantly quiet. The reaction proved so abrupt and jarring that the opposition followed suit, uncertain about the development. Examining the faces of his companions, the terrestrials, angry previously, now displayed expressions of shock and somehow even greater fury. The commander remained motionless, his pale skin flushing with the thick fluid pulsing through his body. He said nothing for an extended moment before quietly summoning one soldier. The man approached with his identical sibling to consult with the commander. Narks barely discerned their hushed conversation. You mentioned previously that you were a projectile specialist in recreational competitions back home, the commander said. After confused hesitation, the other terrestrial responded, "Well, yes, sir." "Why?" Ignoring the question, the commander continued, "How skilled were you?" Addressing the opposite side, the identical sibling interjected, "Exceptional, sir. Absolutely exceptional. While I received the aesthetic advantages, he acquired the talent. He would have participated in professional leagues if not for the transportation accident. He was progressing steadily. Still remarkable now." The sibling dismissed him, though visibly pleased. He offered a modest shrug before smiling. "He speaks truth." The commander remained silent momentarily, contemplating the chasm separating them from their adversaries. Eventually, he collected a substantial stone in his right hand, repeatedly tossing and catching it with a calculating expression. Finally, he presented the stone and calmly indicated the tallest Sith warrior, who had shouted the offensive remark. Perhaps a direct throw toward the center target. The other man examined the commander, then the stone, before a grim, malevolent smile transformed his expression. "My absolute pleasure, sir." Surrounding terrestrials retreated, providing adequate space. The Sith observed with confused amusement as the terrestrial adjusted his position atop a small elevation. He rotated his shoulder repeatedly, stretched his arms, and flexed his fingers. Narks had never witnessed a terrestrial prepare for such a feat, so he couldn't anticipate the outcome. Though involving terrestrials, violence seemed probable. Appearing satisfied, the terrestrial positioned himself sideways, feet aligned parallel to the chasm. Fortunately for Narks, possessing 4 cortical hemispheres allowed comprehension of the subsequent movement. The unsuspecting Zith continued watching, amused, when the tallest warrior's head simply exploded unexpectedly. The movement occurred within microseconds, a complex sequence designed to accumulate energy, coordinate the body, and release maximum force. First, the left foot elevated slightly, swinging toward the right shoulder while the left hip rotated inward, arms positioned frontally. The terrestrial bent at the waist, maintaining straight posture and elevated head. The left foot reversed position, reopening the hip as the right arm descended. The right hand lowered nearly to knee level while the left arm swung outward and the left foot extended widely, transitioning from parallel to perpendicular orientation. Initially close together, both feet now separated by an extensive step. The right hand positioned backward behind the torso, almost crossing it entirely, hips and pelvis cocked. Then, with motion resembling an uncoiling spring, the terrestrial unleashed tremendous energy surging from foot to hip before racing upward through the back. It joined at the shoulder, multiplying with extensive rotational velocity before propelling toward the elbow, still flexed as the arm thrust forward. The terrestrial's chest aligned perfectly parallel with the chasm as the arm swung overhead, elbow providing final momentum before the stone disappeared. Fingers separated as that massive energy propelled the stone directly forward. The momentum elevated the terrestrial's legs significantly as the projectile traversed the chasm. Narks couldn't track the rapid movement but couldn't miss the sickening impact as the stone connected, spraying yellow fluid everywhere around the Zith general's head. What remained of the head jerked backward, feet thrusting upward, slamming the Zith general onto the stone surface below with another revolting sound. Exoskeleton collapsed like fractured shell, neural tissue spreading across the stone. The Zith froze in horrified silence, regarding the terrestrials with strange admiration before battle cries erupted. Zith shrieks of terror followed as countless terrestrials charged forward clutching their own stones. Males and females launched hundreds of projectiles consecutively, propelling them high into the air and straight ahead. From the rear, someone requested materials to construct a siege weapon because he desired increased scale, typical terrestrial escalation. Meanwhile, fleeing Zith screamed and stumbled over each other in their haste. To Narks's right, one terrestrial female employed a different approach. Right leg forward, she shifted weight onto her left hip, swinging the stone backward and high above her head perpendicular to the ground. With her body at right angles, she pushed from that position, bringing her arm downward in an underhand arc while taking a wide step forward. The left leg elevated as the right arm followed, then circled back, preserving momentum as her left foot contacted the ground. Stone again, high above her head. Like her male counterpart, she allowed her elbow to complete the arc's bottom segment. The stone launched upward and struck the throat of a Zith lieutenant fleeing in the opposite direction. He collapsed onto the stone surface, choking against his crushed breathing apparatus. The terrestrials called triumphantly as they transformed their bodies into projectile launching mechanisms, firing with unprecedented rate and accuracy. Certainly, they'd missed occasionally, but predominantly made contact, shattering protective shells, fracturing exoskeletons, and wreaking destruction. Those unable to escape toward the canyon's end soon lay in devastated heaps, moaning from their broken forms or silenced in pools of their bodily fluids. The battlefield before them represented absolute devastation, yet not one terrestrial had sustained injury. In stunned horror, Nark sat motionless as Commander Holm approached, massaging his shoulder with grimly self-satisfied expression. Thank the stars for basic physical education instruction, wouldn't you agree?